In this video, we're going to explore the process of using our podcast concept to create our podcast artwork and title. It's easy to think that with a primarily audio-based medium like podcasting, that our podcast cover art and show title requires minimal consideration. However, optimizing your podcast title and cover art does have a direct influence on whether your podcast is able to break through others in your niche. So why do podcast titles matter? Your title represents the style and voice of your podcast. It communicates to your audience exactly what they are in for if they choose to click on your show. So ask yourself, is your show funny, serious, a mix of both? Your title should communicate that very easily. Secondly, your title is a key search engine optimization, or SEO for short, opportunity. One of the biggest hurdles that podcasters face is the concept of discoverability. How do new listeners find your show within a given platform? SEO are tactics that you implement in your content creation to make your podcast more easily found through search. Your podcast title is a key search factor. To take advantage of SEO, make sure that the words you use in your title align with what your audience is actually searching for. For example, if you are making a movie podcast, perhaps include the word movie in the title. SEO is just one factor that goes into creating a great title. Here are some additional tips. Keep it short. Your title should be 4 words max. This is because the title will also need to fit on your podcast cover art. Don't be clever. Yes, that inside joke between you and your co-host sounds like a great podcast title, but does it communicate to someone who doesn't know you exactly what your podcast is about? It's cliche, but keep your podcast title simple. If a complete stranger can't figure out what type of show you're creating based on the title, revise it. Don't keyword stuff. It can be easy to take the SEO concept to the extreme. Word of warning, do not fill your title with keywords. Podcast directories like Apple Podcasts have kicked out podcasters who try this tactic. A better solution is to include the keywords within your show description. With our title set up, let's take a look at what may arguably be even more important than your title, your podcast artwork. How can artwork be even more important than the title? Well, if you've opened a podcast app recently, you may have noticed that there has been a greater push to highlight podcast cover art when browsing categories. This just means that our artwork may be the very first thing that a new listener sees when they are scrolling within a podcast app. So what makes good podcast artwork? Well, let's take the word of graphic designer and podcaster, Prescott Perez Fox. So what are some things that you see that are just like, these are dead ringers for things that really work and are effective with podcast art?
Yeah, maybe the biggest one is contrast, that we have to be able to clearly see the type, which is often the name of the show. And if there is a principal photo or icon, that should be also clear. So going with a very subtle tone on tone kind of screen printed look, like a 1960s album cover or something that's got tons of intricacy. Like, it may be beautiful for what it is, but we have to remember the functionality of podcast artwork. That icon, that square, is going to be reduced tremendously in actual practice. It's so small and it almost has to be immediately recognizable. It doesn't have to be award winning in that moment, doesn't have to fill them with joy, but it has to be highly functional. So, I know what that is, I'm going to click on it. So if you're in a category that has competitors or similar shows, that's where you need some visual distinction. And that could be done with color, that could be done with a photo of the host, that could be done with a sort of marquee typography or logo type. So you want to avoid confusion with something that's very close by to a neighbor. Your podcast artwork is not going to make or break your show. It's more of the sort of thing where it reinforces your overall brand and what I call the brand visual style. So folks will see your podcast artwork on a daily basis or, on their phone. But then they'll also see you on social, and they'll see your newsletter, and they'll see your website and your YouTube page. And if you go to a convention, they'll see your booth or your business card, whatever it is. They will associate that with you. It's more about recognition rather than a true reading and understanding of all the specific details.
Aside from the content of your artwork being effective at communicating your show, there are some technical specs that need to be followed when creating the artwork itself. Podcast artwork should be square, minimum 1400 by 1400 pixels, or maximum 3000 by 3000 pixels, and under 500 kilobytes. Now, what if you aren't the best graphic designer? Well, our advice is to start with a template. Canva provides a ton of free and paid podcast artwork templates that fit many different styles of shows. Choose a template and modify it to fit your show's messaging. So let's take a minute to review what we've learned. Your title and artwork are key to discoverability. Your title and artwork should easily communicate exactly what your show is about. Podcast artwork should grab your audience's attention and stop the scroll. For help, use templates from places like Canva to design artwork. Your podcast title and artwork are key to marketing your podcast. Our next step will be to bring everything together within our media host.